A long time ago in Argos, in a land, there lived a king that was worshipped by the land. But he had a beautiful daughter, too. And whenever anybody saw her, they would bow down to the ground. Until one day, the king found out that he was destined to be killed by his grandson. He did not like that, so he took his daughter down in the dungeon, took her to a cellar, unlocked it. Then he put her in the front, and while she looked, he pushed her in. Then he quickly slammed the door and locked it, and then got away. In that room, there was only a box and 2 blankets. The princess was starving and thirsty too, so Zeus appeared. He brought food and water. The princess was very happy. She ate the food and drank the water. They were happy, but she had a baby, and they were named Perseus. Until one day, the king was walking by and opened the door. Princess tried to block his view from the baby, but he saw. He pushed them both out of the cellar, put them on the beach, grabbed the box, broke it, and then put the 2 of them inside the box. He then sealed it and started to push them to the ocean. They then took a float and were carried by the sea. But luckily, in the other side, there was a family fishing in the beach, and the man caught the box. They then opened it with some help, and they found the child and the mother. They were then happy, but he grew after 18 years. He was a young man now, and he was going to a party with the king. Luckily, he was able to enter. But everybody had gold and treasures, but he didn't. So the king asked him, "Where is my treasure?" Perseus said he would bring him anything, but he said, "You can't do this alone." He gave him an army and let him go to get Medusa's head. He found the best boat he could, and they left. Then they were at the witches. He climbed up the mountain, leading them. But the rest were too scared, so only Perseus went. The witches were going to tell him what he was going to do. There were the witches waiting for him. The witches said he would cut Medusa's head and save a young princess. Then they disappeared. But as soon as they left, Athena and Hermes appeared. Hermes gave him a sword, a shield, and sandals that could fly. Athena gave him the shiniest shield and a leather bag. They wished him luck and left. He then went down the mountain. He was ready to kill Medusa. Or was he? Later, they reached the entrance to the underworld. Because Medusa was a hideous thing that lived in the underworld. They all climbed up, but Perseus just flew. When he entered the underworld, the rest fell down, and he was almost kicked off to the green bubbly water. He then paid the ride a coin, and the person on it said, "I'll take you." But while she was taking them, she told them the story of Medusa. Medusa was once a young, beautiful girl, and she sang, leading voyagers to their death. She was also very proud of her beauty and bragged. But one day, as Athena watched her, with her voice intoxicating voyagers leading them to their death, she turned her feet into a long, horrid snake tail, and made her face green as emerald, and her skin scaly, and her hair as snakes. She then jumped into the water to hide. She then resurfaced in the underworld. Later, they were in the underworld, in front of Medusa's temple. She was asleep, luckily, but it was still very dangerous, so they split up, 2 on each side and 1 on the roof, and 4 in the front. Then, one man, he fell into a trap and got cut. But that woke her up. So she went upstairs and turned the man to stone with her gaze. One look at her face will turn you to stone. She turned almost everybody to stone and then killed a man with a dagger and threw one against a wall. There were still 4 left. They split up. She turned a man to stone. Even Batman. Only Perseus and the other warrior were left. He fell down and lost his helmet. But the other man trapped her with a rock. But he died. Perseus then looked at his shield, closed his eyes, and spun. And then off with her head. He then put her head in the bag and left. But when he left, there was a young princess chained to a rock, and there was a monster about to devour her. He threw a sword, but it didn't work. So he had the greatest idea. He pulled out the head and turned the creature to stone. He then crumbled and collapsed to the ground and sunk. He then saved the princess, luckily in time. Later, in a fair, there was a discus throw who would win a lot of gold. So he threw it, but he went way past the flags all on the other side of the world and hit his grandfather and killed him. They then lived happily ever after. The end.